Greetings, theists and non-theists. I'm TheAtheistPaladin. Looks like just yesterday I just whet my chops for this sort of topic. So at least try not to do another 18-minute video like I did yesterday. And if it does go over 10 minutes, I'll try to chop it up for y'all's convenience. But as I spoke yesterday on Carm sources, I decided to look at them and see what exactly are they saying who their sources are. I know a few of them I heard off the top of my head, and I'm like, that's not really a quality source. So I won't go through the entire list comprehensively and debunk every last one and explain why they're not good sources, but some of the examples that I'm going to go through are going to be quite damning in showing that they're not doing their due diligence in researching this, that they're sort of just grabbing whatever they can and trying to, shotgun, just fire everything at you as they can and hope something hits. And really, this shows a really lack of study. I don't mind talking and debating about this subject and discussing what does it really mean to have these people as references, what do they say, stuff like that. That's fine, that's great. But really, let's not throw a bunch of BS out and think you're doing anything for the debate. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So if we go to carm.org/Jesus-exists, you'll find this list. And according to what it says, some of the things I take issue with, of course. Let's read it out here. A number of radical skeptics today who claim that Jesus did not exist or seriously doubt his existence. However, there are a number of critical problems with doubting Jesus' existence due to early and abundant evidence that we have of Jesus' life and deeds. In fact, there is almost unanimous consent among critical scholars today that Jesus existed. Okay, so what? Doesn't mean they're right. So not only you're appealing to authority, you're appealing to popularity. It's a popular, so authority and appeal to popularity. Again, so if they say Jesus exists, let's examine the evidence. I want to see why. I hear it over and over again that the evidence is quote-unquote overwhelming, and yet every time I present anything that is presented in this field, I found myself drastically underwhelmed. It's kind of silly. Let's talk about this honestly instead of trying to BS our way through it. So let's go through this. There are over 42 sources within 150 years of Jesus' death which mentions his existence and will record many events of his life. Okay, so let's go through them, okay? They split it into basically 4 different types of evidence. The first one is basically the New Testament. The second one is Christian, basically church fathers and some of their writings. Next is what is considered heretical writings, and then there are the typical secular sources such as Josephus. What is it with me today? Flavius Josephus. If you want to see my examination of the last 9 sources, I've already did a video on this, and did Jesus really exist? So if you want to see what I have to say about those sources, then go ahead and see that. Okay, so let's examine the 9 traditional New Testament authors: Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Paul, Author of Hebrews, James, Peter, and Jude. Okay. Well, it comes to the 4 Gospels, it's really 3 in a way. There's Mark, and then there's Q, to which Matthew and Luke seem to borrow from, as well as borrow from Mark. And there is a general consensus that, well, these people weren't writing their own independent accounts, but rather tailoring the gospel story for their own little area, for their little own community. So these are not independent sources. At best, you can say these two. And the Gospel of John, well, that's one of the latest comers to Jesus, and also seems to be its own story. Instead of just directly borrowing as Matthew and Luke did, it completely cuts a whole new view. It really, I mean, it doesn't even mention the baptism at all, and Christ is compared to in John and in Mark. He seems the most human-like. In John, he seems the most godlike, I guess you can say. Paul, well, just see my video yesterday. Paul is not a person who knows Christ historically. Again, he only knows Christ through revelation. So, as a historical reference, okay, next one, the author of Hebrews. Well, some say that the author of Hebrews was attempted to be accredited to Paul, and some say just name it as pseudo-Paul, and others say that it was Barnabas. But there's something interesting in Hebrews that actually discounts him. It pretty much discounts the Jesus as a historical person on planet Earth in its sayings. Let's go to chapter 8. Chapter 8, I think. Chapter 8, verse 4. For if he was on earth, he would not be a priest, since there are priests who offer these gifts according to the law. For if he were on earth, he would not be priest. Now, the greater context of this verse is about Christ's priestly duties in the heavenly realm. Now, this says that if he was on earth, he would be subject to the laws, and therefore could not make the offering on our behalf. So basically, in order for Christ to make the offering on our behalf, cannot be on earth. Are we getting this? Not a historical Jesus. He was a mythical figure, according to Hebrews. You might want to do your due diligence before you cite it as evidence for something that's not even something you agree with. Just might want to consider that. And then there's James, Peter, and Jude, all of which, of course, occur pretty much after 70 AD. So they're all first century works. So again, none of the it doesn't appear that none of these sources are of first accounts. They're not. They're secondhand at best. And then we get to the 20 early Christian writers and things outside the New Testament. Here we go. Clement of Rome, Second Clement. Wait a minute. So they're double counting. So they've taken Clement of Rome and his writings as two separate sources for the history of Christ. So they're double dipping. They don't do this just once. Okay, Ignatius. Okay, Polycarp. The martyrdom of Polycarp. Again, they're double counting. Okay, the Diachi, Barnabas, shepherd of Hermias, the fragments of Papias, Justin Martyr, Aristarchus, Endothorgus, Theophilus of Antioch, Quadrinus, Styropalaea, Mentos Stargus, Diodigus, Gospel of Peter, the Apocalypse of Peter, again double dipping, and they named him also in the New Testament, and the Epistolum Apostolorum.